them being, the kind of the leader of the industry, but very personally attacking Binance and CZ, who is of course being forced to stand down. Now, I'm sure Chris has more on news on this unraveling story, but from what I've been researching, it's about a $6 billion settlement they're looking at, and CZ will actually have to pay about $50 million personally, and I believe he's currently holed up in Dubai. So the chances of that man ever leaving Dubai are probably slim. Certainly not to anywhere in the that the US can deport from. You know what's interesting for all the football fans out there is I did not even believe this would happen, but we all saw what happened with FTX. The likes of all the celebrities that endorsed FTX, they came after them. I won't name any of those individuals just for legal reasons. However, I have to name this guy. So Cristiano Ronaldo became the face of Binance. And if you guys could believe this, he's facing a $1 billion class action lawsuit over the promotion of Binance. I do feel like this is a little bit sad, just for the industry. Just the fact that you could be involved in a project and you sort of not be aware of what's going on, and then come in later. And I'm pretty sure everyone in the world would probably miss $1 billion if they were forced to pay that. Following up, I'm going to come into the wins, guys, and this is just a couple of the major headlines from the year. Of course, the SEC filed charges against Kraken and Coinbase again. Yes, that is take two. But on the positive side, Coinbase and Ben Armstrong have actually countersued the SEC, and they're claiming that what they want to see is a more transparent crypto legal space where companies know exactly the landscape. Because this is the argument that a lot of these organizations and foundations have, is that there is no sort of right or wrong answer currently. The SEC is currently making up on the spot. And this is where we come to this sort of regulatory year that we've had, is that what we're seeing is massive regulation, massive fines, then resulting in class action lawsuits from the little guys, but we don't actually have any sort of guidelines. So I think a more transparent space where regulators are actually observing and actually mentioning to these organizations and obviously foundations, talking about people like Ripple, who are also won their lawsuit in a landmark ruling, which is overall showing a hugely positive outlook for the space as a whole. And just to come to on the monetary side of things, before I welcome Chris in and we get into next year, there's been a lot of updates on inflation. The International Monetary Fund announced that the expected GDP growth for this year is 3%. Now, for those of you that don't know, it was 3.5% last year, so it is a little bit lower. Of course, we've gone into this double dip recession, borderline depression, with obviously industries like DeFi being hit with the most regulation. And obviously next year what will happen is that they're projecting next year to be a 2.9% GDP growth. So we are seeing a small decline, but I believe by 2025, as we go into the next bull run, we will be seeing these numbers changing. To quickly address the inflation forecast, we have seen a decline to 6.9%. I believe it was about 8.7% at the start of the year. And in 2023, it was 5.8%. So you can see that this double dip recession has affected the markets as a whole globally in a pretty staggering way. And yet this is where I get really excited, guys, because even with these, quite, I would say, challenging macroeconomic environments, what we're seeing the total market cap for cryptocurrency increase as a whole to 1.4 trillion, and that's a 70.7% year-on-year growth. I did have to research that figure, but let's look at this and why this is happening. And this is actually number 2 on our list of the 10 big events in 2024 that we're getting excited about at the BAB team and the Redefy team. Is that this is really what we think is down to this swell of optimism surrounding spot Bitcoin and spot Ethereum exchange traded funds, so the ETFs that we're going to be discussing in a moment or two, and this was obviously came about in the latter half of 2023. So this is a major driver in these positive and I said increased market cap of the of the crypto markets as a whole. And this is something that I track usually on a daily basis. And I don't know about you guys, but let's get a thumbs up if your bags are actually looking pretty positive right now compared to the way they were at the start of the year. I hope this year brings you guys more love, happiness, and of course, success and positive growth in your bags. But that's it from my quick intro, guys. Apologies for ranting on there. I would like to welcome Chris up. Chris, did you make it home okay?
Yeah, still stuck, but like I'm able to speak because I'm
That's
stuck.
great. Well, the good thing is you're in the UK and the internet is pretty good there.
Yeah. Thankfully, like I'm not gonna have any issues.
Yeah, amazing. Well, we'll put it this way. I'm actually going to be in Edinburgh next year, next April. So I'm going to come and see you. I'll give you a little recommend. Oh, have the comms gone down, guys? I just saw a thumbs down from Frederick. I wasn't sure if the comms had gone down. But look, this is us jumping into the top trends and top events of 2024 that we all need to be looking out for. Please, what I will be doing, listen closely if you're on this call. If for those of you that are catching the recording, I will be posting this on our Medium. If you don't have our Medium, check out our X post tomorrow. I'm going to be putting all of these top trends to watch in 2024 in an easy format for you guys to read and take away with you. And these things are really worth diving into deeper because I'm telling you now, they're going to be affecting the crypto markets as a whole. And let's be honest, the number one on the list is the Bitcoin halving event. And obviously, just on the surface, every 4 years we go through these halving events, or as I like to call them, the Bitcoin burns. But what I would like to do is get our technical writer in here to just to kind of uncover. I mean, there's some myths. I even spoke to someone the other day, and he was going on, and I didn't want to correct him, but I was like, "This is not what was going on next year." So, in my projections, I think it's around April time, Chris. But do you want to jump into the Bitcoin halving? What kind of goes on during that period, and what knock-on effect that will have to the wider community as well?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people like thinking like the total supply is getting half or something like that. I had many friends like saying the same. It's actually like the block rewards, or should we say like the miners rewards that's getting half, and that's happening like every. I remember it was 200,000, 210,000 blocks every 200,000. Yeah, so yeah, that's what's happening. Like the rewards are getting halved, so that means like like every computation, whatever, like the mathematical equation they're solving to generate a block in Bitcoin chain, it's actually it's gonna be less. It's gonna be half of what it is right now. So that's why like the narrative is essentially like whenever this event happens like every 4 years, like we see like a market uptrend, or not straight away. I'll say that much. It's usually like the next year of the halving, at least from what I've seen so far. But yeah, like I think that's the most important trend to watch for 2024. And yeah, it's something like a lot of enthusiasts are waiting. They're saying, okay, BTC halving, yeah, let's go. Like it's gonna be the beginning of the bull market, which is true, like in a way. But again, like it doesn't mean anything per se. It's mostly like an event. Like it's the most prominent event in crypto. That's what I believe.
Thank you for sharing, Chris. And yeah, just to reiterate there, guys, for it's so every 210,000 blocks, I believe, is when they do these. This will be the fourth halving event. So it'll be 740,000 blocks that have been mined since the start of Bitcoin back in January 3rd, 2009, which was obviously the Genesis block that was mined. And I believe that it's around 650,000 new bitcoins will be available on that date. So on the next halving event, which of course is expected in April, we don't have a definitive date on this just yet. The previous Bitcoin, which was the third Bitcoin halving, was on the 11th of May 2020. So obviously we are in terms of the history of Bitcoin, we are moving pretty quickly. And what I'm noticing as well is that this will have and don't, just like Chris said, don't think that it will have the price of Bitcoin. In actual fact, sometimes it spikes the price of Bitcoin, but I would await quite a volatile market in that month. So this is something that is worth being aware of. It will also have a knock-on effect on an array of different cryptocurrencies, and other altcoins as well. So I would be very wary trading over those months. Certainly check your bags once or twice a day. And really, what I would like to ask you there, Chris, as well is, in your experience, I mean, how many bull runs? Because I'm trying to think how many bull runs I was a very early adopter on Bitcoin, but I was actually back in the day of my uni days, and I essentially missed the boat because I didn't know I was buying Bitcoin online very cheaply in 2010. This was back in the days of, I won't say, but the Tor Onion browser and certain platforms like that. But then I missed the boat and I lost a lot of my wallet. But how many bull runs have you actually lived through, Chris? I wanted to just check there with you.
Oh, for for me, it was just 2020. It was the last one I lived. I joined like around
2020.
2017, like the end of 2017, which was a good year. Don't get me wrong, but the actual halving event, like I experienced, was the most that was the.
May, I
Don't get me
think.
wrong. I can't remember exactly, but I think yeah, it was.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It was the 11th of May, and obviously, what normally happens is it triggers the bull run coming into the last bull run, which was obviously the height of 2021. So, and I just want to clarify here, guys. This is so we got a thumbs down from Bedlam there. So there's clearly something that he didn't like what we were saying about. That's fine. What I would like to say, guys, is none of this is financial advice. If anything, what we're trying to help you do is track the financial markets, and of course, the correlation not just between Bitcoin and the plethora of other cryptocurrencies out there, but also the correlation between traditional financial markets and Bitcoin. So Bedlam, if you want to if you want to come up and share some alpha, I'll add you as a speaker now. Let me just jump into some of the knock-on effects that obviously this halving will have, and maybe Bedlam, if you'd love to join the conversation, if there's something that maybe we said wrong, feel free to come in and welcome to the stage.
No, I wasn't disagreeing with anything. I just couldn't hear him.
Oh, you couldn't hear? No worries. But you know what? It's great to have you up here. Sometimes I always feel it's, not enough of our community are joining these spaces. We want to make them as open as possible to the wider community. Just a quick question then, Bedlam. How are you getting on today? Where are you tuning on from? And how long have you been in the space for?
Since the last bull run, I'm in California.
Amazing. We got the crew over from the West Coast. I like that. But yeah, let's jump into the next big part of what we do. Have you got any comments you'd like to mention about the Bitcoin halving event that's coming up, or should we move on to the next topic?
No questions. Just maybe the next topic, I guess.
Perfect. So, guys, we're coming into what I believe is really the main driving force behind this positive growth for the crypto market as a whole at the end of 2023. And this is, of course, the combination of what we're seeing as traditional finance. Oh, I'm getting horror clips up here, and welcoming into what's known as crypto ETFs. So, let me just add him as a speaker. And Chris, do you want to just delve into a sort of 101 on ETFs? We have discussed these in our spaces before, but do you want to give the space a quick intro into what ETFs are, first of all, and then we'll go in deeper from there.
Yeah, of course. Like I'm sure most of us are aware, like now, like with the Bitcoin ETF, almost approved. It's essentially like. How you say it? Like it's a way for retail investors. I'll say it simply, so if someone doesn't understand, like he will get it. It's gonna make investing in crypto affordable. That's an ETF is a cost-effective way for traders, like investors to entering like a volatile asset class like Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency for that matter. The analytics, the everything as they're managed by professional traders. So yeah, if you're a beginner, like if for example you're my wife that doesn't know anything at all about crypto or what is Bitcoin, how to trade on an exchange, all that stuff, like it essentially opens the door for the masses to come on board. And I think that's the most important thing. Like when people hear, oh, it's a Bitcoin ETF, or it's maybe the Ethereum ETF is coming, or something like that. Like you save like on custody charges, like network transaction fees, by investing in an ETF, and that's why a lot of people are hyped in the crypto community as a whole, because they're waiting for this kind of news to actually be implemented, because that's one thing that might bring like mass adoption in crypto.
I love that, Chris. And yeah, just to elaborate on what Chris is talking about here. So ETF standing for exchange traded funds. If you imagine that that currently all cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, are 0.4% of the global financial markets. And if you can imagine that not many people, we're talking about the people on this call, perhaps the early adopters within this space that are using, could you got a hot mic there, Chris. Could you mute yourself for a sec? Let me try and mute you actually. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so if we look at the space as a whole, it's pretty small compared to what's out there. And let's look at, for example, let's look at massive let's look at massive exchanges around the world that are going to be listing Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs. I think this is a huge opportunity for further adoption. I don't like using the word mass adoption because let's be honest, not everybody should be in this space. Not everybody is in this space, and if we combine that with Bitcoin and the current sort of trajectory that Bitcoin and Ethereum are having and going through, I do believe we have got some big things to come. And what do you think will happen? Just I want to before I welcome up some other speakers, I've got a few requests here. Let me just add these guys as speakers. One moment, and please just put your hands up if you guys want to talk, and I'll unmute you because there's a few people on the space. I don't want everybody talking at once. But what do you think once these ETFs are actually greenlit? What do you think will happen? I mean, I think it's a fairly basic answer to that, Chris. But what do you think will happen in the whole space, crypto space, when these ETFs are greenlit?
I mean, essentially, like it opens the door for the mom and pop investor to actually invest in Bitcoin, because like you're hearing it a lot, right? Like in other TV, like their regulators, like they're putting like new things every year, every month, mostly, and like it's actually a doorway. That's how I see it. Like for the mom and pop investor to just jump in crypto and learn what is everything about.
I like that. You kind of like everyday Joe just jumping in. I was looking for someone in the space called Joe, but I do believe you're right. Oh, I have someone. Is that Horclips? Do you want to join the discussion? How are you doing today? Where are you tuning in from?
Hi there, I'm tuning in from London at the moment. I'm just at home with the kids.
Amazing. And how's so far how's the space going? I know there's a few different market trends spaces that are trending currently, but what we wanted to do was just kind of look over some of the, I would say, the big kind of milestones of next year. And are these something that you're keeping in mind to do with your portfolio? How's everything going? What do you think? What do you think you'd like to add on the Bitcoin halving and the crypto ETF side of things?
A lot of companies are doing the tokenization of everything, like especially in the housing. There's a few good projects out there, and I think gaming is up and coming. But I was actually thinking about the halving. Is BAB and Redefy going to position themselves to take advantage of Bitcoin's top? Because usually as Bitcoin rises closer to the top and it starts to come down, that profit margin like comes straight back into the altcoins. So then you get like a massive altcoin season.
Yes, you get the ultimate surge. So this is, of course, something we've been discussing as a team. We are positioning, even for example, things like our private sale and our public sale and our mainnet launch in the Q1 of next year to really try and capitalize on this. I would say also like very positive sentiment. Miners are working hard during that period because obviously, like Chris said, the mining rewards have. So what we are doing is, of course, taking all market conditions into mind when we're for everything we're doing coming into 2024. And I do believe it's going to be a really positive year. Sorry, Chris, jump in.
No, and mind you, like like the BTC halving, like it's coming up, but if you look back, right, like if you look at history, which history tends to repeat itself, in every halving, right, like the actual top for Bitcoin, like the bull run, was like a year after. So for 2020, like the Bitcoin topped, I think it was beginning of 2021, something like that. So that's why we're taking, all considerations, all the trends, what's happening in the, in the real world with the ETFs and all that stuff, with global regulations. And I think 2024 is going to be like I'm not saying a bull year per se, like maybe I'm wrong. I think 2025 or late 2024 is going to be the actual pump that we're all be waiting for. So yeah, like we're watching closely all these trends and what's happening.
I like what you said there because I do believe, like you said, that these are in terms of projecting the market, sort of looking at these market projections. Like nothing is set in stone, and I feel like what a lot of the time we try and do is to the date and to the decimal degree we try and sort of forecast these things. But this we'll all notice that within the crypto space this just isn't possible. And I think of course the bull run is and even look at these kind of early bull runs, sort of mini bull runs that are happening. Just to let you guys know about the market currently, what is going on right now is known as the December effect, or the Santa Claus rally, as some people call it. And also usually from October, so they also call it the Halloween effect. So from October leading into Bitcoin's birthday on the 3rd of January, we're having these upward trends and these sort of early bull runs. But of course, guys, you will know when the bull run is here, and I do believe that we're in for a pretty, up and down ride coming into the start of 2024. A lot of people are putting their projections out there. That is not what I'm going to do in this call at all, because really this is more of an open discussion, just preparing you guys for what's ahead. And what I would like to jump into a little bit deeper. Oh, we've also got a few new speakers. So Frederick, how are you today? And I think Alan. Oh, Alan's just jumped down, but Frederick, how are you today? Do you want to say a quick hello? Sorry, bro.
Greetings from France. I've left London for a while, and I'm in Burgundy.
Oh wow, nice. I'd like to hear where everyone's from. Like, I'm on quite a lot of spaces every week, and I really enjoy just trying to, work out where everyone's from. Sometimes from their accent, I can hear your slight French accent there. Welcome to the space, Frederick.
Thank you.
Are you in our brand ambassador program?
I am indeed.
Yes, I thought I recognized you.
Yeah.
Welcome to the space. Oh, I actually met you. Did I not? I met you at Crypto Wharf.
You did indeed. Yes, I was at the meeting.
I had a great discussion with you, Frederick. So nice of you to join us on the space, and thank you for tuning in, and thank you for joining as a speaker. Please feel free to just raise your hand at any moment if you would like to discuss any of the matters, because we need to get through this list, guys. We're only on number 2 right now. I do want to just quickly come into the ETFs in a bit more detail. Chris, if you don't mind just delving a little bit deeper for me, because I think what's probably in a lot of people's minds, and the question everyone wants to ask right now is, in terms of safety and regulation around these ETFs, I'm imagining them kind of like similar to sort of mutual funds. If you're investing, as an example, there's a list I have in front of me of about 80 different asset managers. BlackRock is one of the number ones. I mean, I think BlackRock has something like 10 trillion under assets under management, 9 trillion maybe, something along those lines. So if you look at the potential upside that these ETFs and their greenlighting them will have on the cryptocurrency market as a whole is pretty astronomical. Like, for example, we have I'm not even going to go through the list of these different crypto asset managers that are applying for their ETFs, but I believe that once one of them is accepted, because now what's happening is I believe that the SEC and the the Commodities and Exchange Commission as well, they are not declining them anymore. So they've given up on actually declining them, and what they're doing is they're just kind of going to give a date, and I believe this could be January. Do you have a number in your calendar there, Chris? Oh, Chris has actually jumped off for a while. I'm not sure, because I think my understanding is that from January 2024, we could see these ETFs getting greenlit. Now, this is just an idea that I had, but bear in mind, it's Bitcoin's birthday on the 3rd of January. So let's imagine that Bitcoin, has its birthday, and then these Bitcoin ETFs are greenlit. This is what I'm thinking might happen. So anyone on the space that wants to maybe contradict me there or come up against that, please let me know. And let's jump on quickly. I think Chris has had some comms issues. So what I'm going to do is move on to the next couple of topics here, while hopefully Chris gets back into the space. So for those of you that saw our post about this, you may have seen number 3 on the list was ZK rollups. So I want to just quickly ask you guys, does everybody know what zero knowledge proof is and zero knowledge protocols? Frederick, do you know what they are?
No, I don't know, but I would love to know a bit more. I know that the SEC, you were talking about the ETF, the SEC has delayed their decision by another 10 days, I believe, or maybe 1 month. It's either 10 days or 1 month. So I think we will get more news about ETFs on BlackRock by Q1, early Q1.
Yes. So you know what, Frederick, you're totally right. I have seen a few other sort of contradicting articles where it may be a bit later into Q1. Let's be honest, they're probably getting all of their ducks in a row to make sure that when they do allow them and that everything will run smoothly. I'm happy to jump back into ETFs, guys. And for those of you that want to join the discussion, please request, and I'll add you to the space as a speaker. But for those of you that don't know what zero knowledge proof is, this is really why I got bullish in the DeFi space. And what it does is zero knowledge proof is actually a cryptographic method that allows the validation of a statement without revealing the related information. And the easiest way for me to explain this, guys, is, for example, say you're sending money overseas through an intermediary. So through your bank, and let's be honest, this is why we got involved in DeFi, because when you're looking at the fees involved, for example, the remittance fees, it's upwards of 6%. But another thing that you have to go through is all of the KYC. And this is something that unfortunately the space will have to go through as the regulators take over and sort of make the space a safe space. Is that the KYC is essentially know your customer. And what we do need to do, so zero knowledge proof allows peer-to-peer transactions, so person-to-person transactions without having to give personal information. Of course, what is the first thing that the government will probably do or are scared of with zero knowledge is that people can send money out with the traditional financial markets. They can evade taxes. There's no evidence of who the individual is. But this is something that I'm quite bullish on. And actually, to explain this in an easier way for you guys to understand, I went to Rome about 5 years ago with a friend of mine, and he took me to he's Roman originally, so he's from Rome, and he took me to this little bar, and this is a kind of IRL way of zero knowledge proof actually going in terms of a transaction at play. So what happens? He took me to this little bar. You go to the window. They serve like one type of wine, which they actually age in the cellar. You put up your $5 in this little hatch. They don't look at you. They don't see you. They take your $5, and then they in another hatch they put your wine. Imagine zero knowledge protocols are like that, where you can peer-to-peer make transactions to other people without having to have them all of their personal information, their date of birth, and obviously look at all the pitfalls of having too much personal information online these days. The public space is full of people taking advantage of this information, cloning you. I mean, if you look at the amount of people that are anonymous on this call, this is just one reason why, is that you have to be very, very careful who has access to your personal information today. You have things going on even within scams, for example, on LinkedIn. This is a big one right now. So for those of you that are ever navigating LinkedIn, be very careful, because there's certain scams that are going around where they can access your personal information, they can access your address, and they can easily, clone you and do things with your data. So this is what I call this region, or this era of data wars. All the websites out there, and if you look at the GDPR today, the amount of tracking that is done of our data from massive organizations to individuals, you have to be very, very careful out there. So zero knowledge proof and zero knowledge protocols is a way around this, and I do hope that the decentralized financial sector has more of this moving forward. But I do believe, like I said, let's try and move DeFi and decentralized finance into the next chapter before we really focus on sort of zero knowledge protocols. And I just wanted to invite Horclips. I know we have Twan. Oh, we even have David, one of our team in the house. Shout out to David. Twain, if you want to join the space as a speaker and join the conversation, please feel free. And Horclips, do you have anything you'd like to comment, whether it be about the ETFs or zero knowledge proof?
Sorry, not at the moment. I've got my little one running around.
Oh, no worries. I totally understand. Like, It's manic in a household with kids. Like when I was visiting the UK, seeing my sisters, her little boys, my nephews were running around like crazy, and you never get a breath in Edgeways, do you? So this is what I would like to mention. So number three.
If anything, when you're talking about birthdays, I think Satoshi's birthday is on the same birthday as mine, actually, 5th of April, tax year.
No way! Is it actually?
Yeah. So sometimes I've heard one trader, chart analysis, connect the birthday of Satoshi with certain prices of Bitcoin. So maybe, I think he's going to be 49 soon, so maybe we might hit 49,000 before or just after.
Yes. So, do you know? I want to say something there. Actually, is that like, and I know I'm going to get a lot of people disagreeing with me. Please raise your hand if you're a speaker and you want to talk about this in more depth. But I don't believe that Satoshi is one guy. I've always believed that it's a global syndicate. I also believe that syndicate was actually set up to help what we see with the traditional financial markets, which is, like you said, these recessions that we're led into. It was ironically at the rise of the 2008, after the 2008 recession, even in the very first Genesis block that was mined, they have a cutout from the Chancellor of the Exchequer from the Times or the Telegraph, and it said the Chancellor of the Exchequer bails out banks again. What we have to see is that the decentralized financial market was established, I believe, to support the traditional financial markets. And at these times of year, during these recessions, a lot of money is pumped out and funneled out of the traditional financial markets. And really, they had nowhere to put it before the rise of cryptocurrencies. So, Bitcoin, which was, I believe, maybe the sixth or seventh cryptocurrency that was established. They even used, so the very first one was called eCash. We then have things like BitGold, like Zcash, and Hashcash. And Hashcash was one of the ones that became most popular. And obviously, Bitcoin really became, when it was founded, became the leading cryptocurrency, which is why often we think of it as the first. But in actual fact, it wasn't the first. There was a few before, and it was the initial smart contracts that were used to develop Hashcash were then imported over to the initial smart contracts that were used establishing Bitcoin. So the interesting thing that I believe, let's look at it like this. So, for example, the Ethereum Foundation, like who are the founding team of Ethereum? Yes, you've got Vitalik Buterin, but you've also got Charles Hodgkinson, you've got Deloria, you've got five of them. I can't remember all of their names off the top of my head, but Ethereum is obviously becoming what's probably known as the second biggest, blockchain, and there's five founders. I don't believe that Bitcoin could be one founder, and I think it was more of a global alliance, financial alliance, in syndicates. But there again, that's just my idea. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally agree. Satoshi is kind of like a mythological messiah for the financial industry.
Yes.
But you can take advantage of that. I mean, look, companies like BAB have come out, Redefy are coming. But yeah, everything that you said is down to a T, and I'm going to have to go now, but it was nice meeting you at the wharf.
Yes, I just realized we had dinner together after, didn't we? Yeah, it's so great to hear you, to speak to you, by the way. I realized there as we were speaking that we went out for dinner that evening.
Yeah.
It's so nice to speak to you. What an event it was, and I look forward
brilliant.
to. I will let you guys know as soon as we have. I'm actually finalizing the next event and the next venue this week. I'm trying to get everything set up before the new year. So as soon as I have the announcement, I will let you guys know in advance.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Have a lovely evening, and I hope you
too.
have a lovely festive period as well.
You too. And good. Have a great Christmas to you and the team and the BAB team.
Oh, thank you so much. You take care, all right?
You too. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Okay, great. We have a new speaker on the stage as well. So I just want to give a shout out there. Obviously, that was me going off on a rant about Satoshi. I'm not sure everyone else's thoughts, but some people may also think that it's still a guy. In no way do I think it's Craig Wright. I don't know if you guys remember that cryptographer, that Australian cryptographer that came out with a claim. Of course, he was just trying to access some unsettled wallet of Bitcoin. I mean, who wouldn't try and do that? I mean, don't get me wrong, he might be part of the founding team, but I don't think that it's him on his own. But interested to know what you guys think. Welcome to the stage, Redefy, actually. Do you want to give a quick hello and where you're from?
Hi Jay, it's Michael, by the way. I know I use Verify.
Yo, Michael.
How you keeping, man?
I'm doing very well. How
I'm
are
not
you?
too bad. I'm not too bad. Surviving the day. Listen, just a quick one about Satoshi. Yeah, this is just my take on it as well. Yeah, I've honestly always believed Satoshi is just the government, man. I just think like it's just these people. Obviously, they knew blockchain or crypto is the future, and they started this thing, and they started it. To me, that's what I believe. Because how can we have something like Bitcoin, right, worth at $1 trillion or whatever, how much it was, and we don't know this person at all. We know about the founders of like say Avalanche and Ethereum, like you said, all these people, but we don't know this person. So to me, I believe it's just the governments, man. They just like knew that this is the future, and the only way to sort of introduce this was by doing this sort of like thing. That's what I believe. Honestly, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but that's my little input about this whole Satoshi thing.
Yo, Michael, I love your take, and I think, like you said, all we can do really is, make guesstimates, and in this space, there's no, and this is something actually I don't know. I listen to, subscribe to a lot of different newsletters. I watch a lot of podcasts, like whenever I can. And there was this thing that came out. I think it was on Coffee and Crypto, and they said it's crypto. Well, first of all, Bitcoin is a brand, and I come from a marketing background, so I believe in spending money to make money. Getting exposure for the brand, bolstering the brand through different campaigns. I don't mean spending on ads and followers at all, but the value of marketing will elevate any brand. But if you look at Bitcoin, it's the only brand in the world that has never done any marketing. It's like almost like the exclusive aspect of it that makes people want it. And I'm amazed by the fact that it is becoming, one of the most, I would probably say, coming into this year, I've always believed it's the number one store of value, even beyond gold. But I do believe that it will probably be the leading store of value for years and decades and centuries to come, as long as it carries on the same path. What are your thoughts about that, Michael?
Do you know what? I so believe that as well. My take is, I feel like gold. Obviously, we knew it hit like all-time highs and all this and all that. But I also believe there had to be something other than gold that can sort of store value, but store it in well, what should I say? Like not physically, if you know what I'm talking about. Obviously, Bitcoin is not a physical thing. You can't hold it. But so I always felt like there had to be something other than gold that can store value, and it's not physical. So to me, I believe it's the future. Like you said, it's going to store a lot of value than gold at one point. I believe a Bitcoin will be at one point way worth so much than what we think is at the moment, or what people think it will be. I mean, I've had people say on certain podcasts that it will probably even hit $1 million at one point. And I do believe, because obviously when you look at the world, we're headed to this fintech world and this world where we're going cashless. You understand? So there has to be something that can store value in a cashless way, and that's only going to be Bitcoin. And it has to honestly rally to some sort of price that a lot of people may be able to afford at all. And to me, when I hear like all these banks and people like a BlackRock and Grayscale getting into this sort of take, I mean, it is what it is. We can't get it wrong, and they're not stupid. They know this. I mean, obviously as well, if you see how the ETFs are coming up as well, all of these signs really show that Bitcoin will actually will and be worth so much money at one point.
Thank you for your take, Michael. Yeah, I mean, put it this way: I think the only thing on the horizon that may, affect this trajectory of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies substantially is the implementation of CBDCs and the way that centralized banking institutions will introduce them. Because I do believe that digital assets are the future assets of our world. But I also believe, and this is where I do want to kind of come back to the other trends, because we're kind of halfway through ZK, but I'm happy to talk about this once we get through everything. I do believe that the traditional financial markets are trying to create their own Bitcoin in some senses through these CBDCs, and I do believe that it will affect the global cryptocurrency market, and specifically Bitcoin as well. But just to kind of come to and sort of summarize ZK, and we'll come back to the discussion around Bitcoin and the future of Bitcoin. And just coming to what you said there, I do believe that potentially it can go to six figures with the right market conditions. I don't think it will necessarily do that in this next bull run. Maybe just shy. But let's be honest, like I mentioned, this is not financial advice, guys. This is really me just having some guesses. But I just want to come in to summarize these zero knowledge proof rollups, because this rollup scheme, as it's referring to, is the fact that venture capitalists, big tech, big traditional finance is really embracing the core elements of ZK. And of course, what I would like to suggest is that the reason why is that it harnesses blockchain technology in such a way, and it allows blockchain technology and decentralized finance to flourish even further. And I just want to come to and explain quickly why, because the underlying logic behind this is actually the ease of use of ZK protocols, the privacy of transactions, and of course, we're coming back to the other trilemma that happens with Bitcoin, is that the scalability aspect of Bitcoin, and I would say that, should we say the transaction speed of Bitcoin is the only thing that I think has hindered it in its lifespan. Whereas zero knowledge protocols and different and the sort of, I think this will be a year of layer twos. As they kind of come in. And I want to jump into the next topic for us, guys, because we don't have time for me to go fully into the ZK rollup scheme. But what I can do is go into these layer two smart contract updates. So just to quickly delve into this, and as I mentioned, guys, this will all be in our in a PR that we're going to run through our Medium. I will share a link with it. This will be in tomorrow's X post, X, formerly Twitter, I think you have to say now, but yeah, tomorrow's X post. Keep an eye out for this. There'll be a link to this full article that I'm kind of just skimming across at the moment, just because of time. So layer two smart contracts. Obviously, for those of you, everybody knows what layer twos are, guys, right? So if you imagine blockchains, layer ones, for example, Bitcoin, layer twos are protocols that are built on top of the layer one to essentially address this blockchain trilemma, which is, of course, scalability, you have and also speed, because the problem with blockchains is that they're slow, they're clunky. You need these quicker layer two protocols on top in order for these transactions to be quick. So let me just go through the three aspects of the blockchain trilemma. So the issues that you have. So the blockchain trilemma is security, scalability, and decentralization. The issue that we have with a lot of these layer one mainnets or blockchains is that you don't have the infrastructure there to send multiple transactions simultaneously, which is why you have the rise of these layer two solutions. So the fourth one on our list, and I really hope we can get through them all, is these layer two smart contract updates. So as an example, let's go into the first one. I just want to ask Bedlam and Frederick, guys, actually, let's look at it in BAB terms, right? So, for example, BAB currently is going through an upgrade, which is going to be its own layer one on the ReDeFi blockchain. And we've gone from an Ethereum smart contract, which is the ERC20 smart token contract, and we're going through an upgrade now to be listed as our own layer one. Michael, you've been up to date with the whole upgrade that we're going through currently, haven't you?
Sort of, of course, yeah.
Yep, perfect. Yeah, you know what? I love this space because, like, I think we only know a certain amount, and obviously I come from a marketing background, but I've been bullish on DeFi for a long time, so I do like to delve deeper. And I just want to go into why the Layer 2 smart contract updates will actually be a huge, massive event for 2024. So currently, right now, what they're calling is the congestion on the network. Imagine it like a busy motorway, often resulting in higher costs, slower transaction speeds. Look at, for example, payment processors like Visa's, like Visa or MasterCard. They have a capacity of processing 2,000 transactions per second back then, whereas a layer 2 solution today, they believe could actually transact up to 9,000 to 10,000 capacity to transact 9,000 to 10,000 transactions per second. I mean, this is crazy when you're looking at the speed that these layer 2 solutions can actually make these transactions at. Let me just jump into the next one, guys. So I don't believe Chris actually managed to join the call, so it looks like it's just me. One moment here. Okay, so we have 5 other topics that I just need to brush over, guys. I know this one is going to get some excitement from you guys. we have the rise of GameFi and also SocialFi. These are two, I mean, let's just be honest, guys. You put a FI on the end of something and it'll become cool. I don't know about you, Michael. What do you think about like this boom of like, obviously GameFi and iGaming's and been around for a while, but what do you think about this kind of movement and this pivot towards all things fi?
Do you know what's funny? I was on another space about 2-3 days ago, and it was all about all these. I remember like in the last bull run, it was all about the verse, the metaverse, and all this and all that. And then this time around, it's all that GameFi, AFI sort of thing going on, like you've just said. I was doing this on a podcast about 2-3 days ago, and everybody's literally excited about all this gaming that's about to hit the crypto space. And honestly, I believe, obviously, I know it's about Redify and dive on that, but I believe also anything to do with AFI and gaming, that is going to be a killer in the next bull run. I feel like we had the metaverse thing, and we've now all what we have is the AI and AFI thing. That's going to be a very big thing. I 100% believe that as well.
I couldn't agree more, you know, and I was actually a gamer back in the day. I've not been a gamer in about, I would say about 10 years now, but I remember being able like playing quite a lot online. And I think if you look at the incentives that these gaming ecosystems give you just for, you know, like play to earn, let's be honest, the model around that isn't a winner. But GameFi as an industry, just to give you some figures here, guys, it's already valued at over 8 billion, and it's going to grow exponentially to about 50 billion in 2025 in the next bull run. So you're looking at it's going to grow more than 4 times the amount that it currently is by 2025, to a staggering 50 billion valuation, which is like, I mean, aside from maybe the, you know, capitalization of Bitcoin, I don't think I've seen any other asset or any other industry grow to that amount. I'm not going to go into SocialFi, guys, because SocialFi has been around for a while, but I do believe it does tip on one thing which I believe is really needed in this space, and this is that, you know, it's the democratization of the internet. I mean, let's be honest, we're talking about the control that we've been under. Technology should put us into a position where we control our data. If you look at what the likes of Meta and massive social media platforms, of course, Elon Musk has done a very good job of turning X around and actually valuing creators. I think we need to move towards, you know, a more open source world where individuals, where creators, where builders can actually create a future off of their data. And what's funny is whenever you say, oh my God, LinkedIn and oh my God, Meta and Facebook and Instagram make profit of us, what do they say? They turn around and say, well, actual fact, you know, your data only makes us about $100 every year. And you know what's funny is that they're actually putting a number on that, because in actual fact, you as an influencer, as a creator on all these apps, if the data and the content was your rights and your alone, and the intellectual property rights were all to you, you would make a lot more money than you currently do. So I do believe that there is a huge change happening, not just within Web3, but within the gaming industry, within social media, and all of it is coming to fruition now. And I believe 2025 will really see, and 2024 and 2025 will see the rise of the GameFi industry combined with SocialFi. And I'm not saying by any means, guys, go out and download FriendTech, because a lot of these projects, they're not sustainable. You may lose money like signing up to any industry. It may come across. But what I do love about you know, actually what they call owning your graph, and in a creator's world, owning your graph means that, for example, if you're to migrate from X and you have 10,000 followers and you migrate to another social media platform, you can't take them. They're owned by X. Or if you migrate from Instagram from your 50,000 followers, you can't take them. Decentralized social media protocols of the future will allow you to take your graph, so your graph of followers, and to migrate them to other protocols. And you can see this through different emerging protocols. I was recently at DevConnect and attending some of the SheFi summits, and this is an example of communities that will allow you to create your own following and then migrate them to other protocols. So keep an eye out on GameFi and SocialFi, guys. This is really going to becoming a big thing into 2024.
Sorry, can I add something to that as well?
Yeah.
If you remember, like obviously a few years ago, all we had was Gala and Axie Infinity, and pretty much Gala and Axie had the biggest market cap of any sort of gaming projects out there. But at the moment, if you actually go and look, there's probably about another like 50 that I know that are really doing so good, and they're building. To me, there's a few that I don't want to talk about now, but I believe they're building better than Axie Infinity and Gala. So the gaming thing is going to be a big thing. That I agree, because there's so much out there that's really happening at the moment. And I think all the developers so like Gallant Axel Dan Lush like the Rush Bull Run, and the building way so much better. And of course they've got the Web3 as well going, and now everything is a bit easier and a bit more interesting.
Yeah, I love that take, Michael.
Yeah.
And just coming, I want to try and get through the last ones. We don't have a hard stop, but I will have to jump off. Hopefully, in about the next 5 or 10 minutes. The next one on our list, and as I mentioned, you guys will have access to this whole list. Is the emerging is the growth of DAOs. Now, currently, there's over 12,000 DAOs. I'm by no means I'm saying that DAOs are the right answer or are sustainable, because they also have a huge array of different issues and different barriers that you may have in normal organizations. But in terms of fundraising, in terms of supporting, they're also creating new versions of DAOs, which are also decentralized charities, which will actually allow, I mean, if you look at the very first DAO that was established, the DAO, they raised about, I think, 60 million USD. I think it was in 2 days, or 100 million in 5 days. And then they had that massive hack that happened, and they lost, lots of it, or most of it, I think. But if we look into the future, we're also going to see the rise of DAOs. For time purposes, I can't tell too much deeper into this, but hopefully what that means is you guys will like to engage with this PR that's coming out tomorrow. I'll also be sharing it with a follow-up from today's space. I just want to actually, before I move into the last three events and trends to look for in 2024, have we got any people that want to mention anything, any speakers that want to ask any questions or anything you'd like to share? Please unmute yourself. Okay, let's move forward then. So the one thing that just to kind of cover over, the one thing that DAOs will really change the landscape for within Web3 and DeFi, and if you look, a lot of the massive organizations, or shall we call them foundations now, the Ethereum Foundation, the Aave Foundation, they are run as DAOs, is governance. So of course, what can happen is that the biggest token holders, the whales, can actually down per asset, per percentage of asset, control the direction of of the organization, which obviously does have a bearing, because it shows that the big token holders will take in the direction. The unfortunate side of that is, of course, they're going to take it into their own benefits. They may not necessarily be benefiting the wider community, but DAOs are definitely one to watch moving into 2024. Moving into the next one, so we have security solutions. I'm going to put AI in there as well. The combination of AI into blockchain technology. I mean, for those of you that aren't aware, they've actually been developing, I think the very first AI created token was called Turbo, and they're creating a huge amount of different tokens, NFT projects through AI, which is incredible. And just for those of you that caught the very, very first space that I ever hosted with Redefine with Bab, I actually spoke about how we're in the 5th generation of blockchain, and the 5th generation of blockchain, which we're currently in, is leveraging AI. We're coming into the third generation of the internet, so it's Web 3.0, but Web 4.0 is around the corner, and the Web 4.0 embodies augmented and virtual reality, and Web 5.0, which will probably come before 2030, is all about AI, automation, and really, I think we're in store for a pretty, I would say, deeper into the metaverse. If you look at the amount of people today that, for example, use MetaQuest, and they go onto the into the metaverse to navigate, to meet friends and stuff, I do believe the generations of the future will probably be more and more online than they are in person. That's just an idea that I had. I don't know what you think about that, Michael. What do you think about these, this augmented reality that they're creating? And of course, if you look at the tokenization aspect, the tokenization of every asset in the world, but when you combine that with this metaverse, what do you think the future is for the world and, for gamers as an example? Oh, I think Michael's dropped down. So that does give me a couple more minutes just to come into the last couple. So the final one, guys, as I mentioned there, is actually security solutions. Let me just come into this so I can just give you a brief overview. So since Bitcoin's inception in 2008, this is just a quick outro, guys, before I close the space. Technologies have been acting as a ledger for recording transactions and if they captured the interest of researchers around the world. While blockchain inherently makes transactions records public, the openness raises questions about privacy in the digital financial realm. And this is coming back to what I was mentioning with ZK, is that ironically, regulators are putting their sights on blockchain technology, but blockchain is actually one of the most above board and visible ways to make peer-to-peer, ledger-to-ledger transactions. Why is that? Because you can actually track every single transaction as it's what's called immutable, which means it cannot be returned. You can track every single transaction and find out with the right person in place anything you need to know about the individuals involved in that transaction. So, for example, in a regulatory aspect, if they were more open door about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, they could also be using it to track all of your transactions. Of course, what does this do? It creates these inherent risk of this confidentiality, because the records are kept there. It allows government organizations, federal entities to then come in and actually see and witness all of your transactions in this immutable ledger. So the fears that the security aspect of this is something really to watch out for, and this is why we added ZK rollups there. And really that comes to the end of our list, guys. I'm sorry for Chris jumping out at the end. Obviously, he could have got into this in a lot more depth than myself, but I want to give a big shout out to the guys that joined the space, especially for the ones that joined as speakers: Frederick, Michael, shout out to David from the Redefy team, Twain, Bob, Bedlam, Crypto UK, all of you guys that joined us. I would like to mention that we run these spaces every single week. We've opted for this earlier time just to suit the schedules of the team that are hosting these events. But it's always a pleasure from my side of things to speak to you guys. We want to make these spaces as open as possible in the future. So please, more of you, jump on, join as a speaker. Really love to hear your thoughts. That's why I love this space. It's the community of people that you find yourself surrounded in that allow you to really excel and take and create the financial freedom that we're all looking for in this life. So I want to say a big shout out to everybody. I hope you have the most incredible festive period with family, friends, and loved ones, wherever you are in the world. Sending love, and like I always do, we'll be outroing with the song that we started with. So that's Blondish. Francis Mercer. It's called Sete. Shout out, guys. See you later. Bye.
Jamaica was popular. Oh,